The luxury belief paradox. Have you heard of this concept? We're going to talk about it. This is something that I recently stumbled across. I find it very fascinating. It is something that I'm interested in, and there's parts of it that I agree with, and there's parts of it that I don't. Interestingly enough, the parts that I agree with, I believe apply to a lot more people than the social critics think it applies to. It's in the title, Luxury Belief Paradox. It's this concept about wealthy people and how they believe and then the things they believe. But I think those beliefs apply to a lot more than just wealthy people. I think they apply to a lot of people in the middle class. I'm a middle class person, and once I read about this luxury belief paradox, I found that I had, in fact, myself been guilty of some of the things they talk about as a middle class person. The luxury belief paradox is this concept that sheds light on the disconnect between what we believe and what those beliefs actually do. It's the idea that people in elite positions of society, wealthy people, reminder, I believe this applies to a lot of middle class people as well, that they often advocate for certain progressive values or social ideas that on the surface appear to help the poor and disadvantaged. But often they only reinforce their own social standing, and they don't even realize they are doing it, and they don't even realize that it's happening. I think one example for me personally, things that I have done in the past, is when I'm trying to be encouraging, educational, when I'm trying to help somebody, when I'm trying to motivate someone. When I tell someone, you can be successful. You just need to do this and this and this, and I promise you, you'll be on the way. The part that I'm completely discounting when I do that is that I'm not taking into consideration that this person is starting from a much different place than I started from. So their journey is not going to be like mine. They can't do what I did. You can call that a middle class belief paradox, I guess. But it's true. And honestly, I had no idea that this was something that I hadn't taken into consideration. That sometimes when I'm talking to people and trying to be a mentor or trying to be inspiration, trying to inspire them in some way, trying to give them some hope, that I'm discounting the disadvantages that they currently face today. Take, for example, the belief radical individualism, the idea that everyone should be entirely responsible for their own success or failure. On its face, it sounds reasonable, it sounds fine, it even sounds empowering. It sounds like that's the way it should be. And we live in a society that, emphasizes this self-reliance. People should just pull themselves up by the bootstraps. But for someone who is even in my position, which I'm not a wealthy person, but for someone in a position of wealth, that is an easy position to take and to espouse. They have resources, they have education, they have social networks that enable them to thrive. They can afford to embrace the idea or myth of meritocracy because their success is already secured. But for the poor and disadvantaged, this belief is now a moral burden because you're reinforcing the notion that their failure is entirely their fault. Not that the unequal systems are stacked against them. Does that make sense? We fail to understand that we don't all start in the same place. Some people start at home base. To use the baseball analogy, some people start on first, second, third. As a matter of fact, some people don't even get to start on home base. I would say I started on home base. Some people are starting outside the ball field. They don't even have a ticket to the game. That's where some people are starting. Take a look at cancel culture. It's an idea that has grown and exploded. Cracker Barrel comes to mind. It's easy for the wealthy and the privileged to engage in cancel culture. They don't have to feel the effects of it. They have resources and platforms to defend themselves. They have reputations. Not everyone does. We are trying to apply equal standards to an unequal playing field. Now, the part of this that I disagree with is I don't think you can make the playing field equal. That's just an unfortunate part of life. But that doesn't mean that we have to discount where people start from. The luxury belief paradox forces us to think critically about the beliefs we adopt, especially the ones that come from the top down. And that's what I'm talking about. Beliefs that come from the top down. Even a middle class person can have a belief that's top down because they're in the middle. It asks us to look past the surface, beyond, the virtue signaling and performative activism. I've had a lot of people, I've been invited to a lot of things that I felt like were performative activism, where they weren't really doing anything. I don't participate. But it forces us to ask whether the values we're espousing benefit everyone or just the people that already have the most to gain. It's ultimately about acknowledging what some of our core beliefs, that they may not be as universally helpful as we think they are. And that's the important part, is that we understand. I think most people don't know they're doing this when they are doing it. Are we advancing the collective good, or are we signaling our own status? Signaling our own status, what does that mean? And that's something that made me think. When I am giving someone advice and I'm saying, you need to do this, this, and this, and what I'm doing is I'm telling them how I got from where I was to where I am. And so I am effectively signaling my status. I am discounting the fact that they are not starting where I started. I'm completely discounting that. So like I said, there's parts of this that I agree with and parts that I don't. There's parts of this that feel very leftist, and there's parts of this that actually feel very righty, like conservative. If you get into really reading about all these different scenarios and situations, this concept can land on both sides of the aisle if politics is your thing. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Is this something you've heard about, read about, know about? Did you learn anything today? Did it give you an opportunity to think about your beliefs in any way? I hope so. That was the point. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Ask questions. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. I will see you guys soon.